Seth Greenberg is one of the greats there at ESPN. On game day, ESPN basketball analyst was obviously in Tuscaloosa Saturday. He's with us now. Welcome in, Seth. Hope you're doing well today.
Doing great, guys. How you guys doing?
Well,
If you're a Bama fan, not so good. If you're a Auburn fan, pretty good. So I guess that's kind of how it works in that state,
that's
isn't it?
kind of, yeah, we've seen that often in football. It's normally not that big in basketball. I want to start there because you coach for a long time. You've been in the media now for a while. You know what's a good job and a bad job. Alabama has been at times a good job. Auburn has been the worst job in the SEC at times. To see both those programs, though, ascend to 1 and 2, just to step back and look at it from the distance has to be just amazing at what Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates have done with these two programs.
Yeah, they've both done an incredible job. So look, both schools has tradition. You think of what Sonny Smith did and the success that he had at Auburn, or even Cliff Ellis. You think about obviously what Wimp Sanderson did at Alabama and the great C.M. Newton. They've all had success, not to this extent and not to this sustained success. Uh, they came at a good time. Bruce Pearl came into the league at a time where the league was going to make a commitment to basketball. He would have taken the job unless they made a commitment to basketball and given him the resources. Now, what he's done with those resources has been mind-blowing because his ability to evaluate players up, to his ability to put in a system that fits his players, his ability to get his guys to buy in and play hard. You don't go to the Final Four with the team he went to the Final Four with without being a master evaluator and coach. And the same thing with Nate. You know, I always say your investment equals your expectation. And both schools made great investments by hiring great coaches, giving them infrastructure, and giving them the resources. And they've taken those things, like the rest of the SEC, it seems like it's taken, and built some of the best programs in the country. So it's hire the right coach, give them the resources, and let them do their thing. And both schools have done it at the very highest level.
Normally, you score 85 points on your home court, you're in pretty good shape. But Alabama scores 85, they lose by 9. Auburn led or controlled the entire game. They held Alabama to 38% from the field. How impressed are you with this Auburn defense?
That's what it was all about to me. This game was all about Auburn's defensive game plan. Bruce Pearl, it's exactly what I said in our game day show. I said, you got to be able to guard your yard, and you can't help off. And what I mean by that is if you can guard the basketball and then run those three-point shooters off, you're forcing Alabama to shoot tough, contested twos. And they were not going to beat you with tough, contested twos. They did a great job defending the three-point line because they didn't leave three-point shooters. Dribble handoffs, they blew them up. Ball screens, they blew them up. They fought over the top. They forced non-shooters to become shooters, but they took away the three ball. Now, a lot had to do with the size of Auburn, their size, their length, their athleticism at the guard position. Compare that to, Holloway and Sears and the perimeter players for Alabama. Look at the size, excluding Todd Patterford. Those are big, long, athletic guys that could blow up those type of screens. And then you're making them score 2-pointers over people. But and then starting the game, I'm sure you guys watched the game or were at the game. Auburn started the game inside, outside. First 5 possessions, Johni Broome touched the ball. He touched the ball. Now, he made a 3, but he got 2 back down. He had a kick out for a 3 for Kelly. And what happens? If you run good offense, you set your defense. If you set your defense, you take away those transition threes. If you set your defense, you're not in rotation, so now they're not paint touch, kick, drive again, kick, wide open threes. So the defensive game plan that Auburn had was absolutely terrific, and it had an impact on the game. Even though Alabama scored 85 points, it had an impact on the game.
You said not such a good day if you're an Alabama fan. Reacting to that game, it's been hard to get over for Alabama fans. But the game seemed to be more about just how great Auburn was. Where is Alabama in your eyes now? Because they've got a tough slate ahead. You've coached in this. How do you pick up after that hyped of a game and move forward?
It's in the league. Next play, man. I mean, like you got the next. Well, they got the next play. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, as a coach, and I think they set them up in terms of what he did pregame, in terms of talking about, it was a big game. It was 1 versus 2. It was everything that it was made up to be. But you've got to approach every single game in that league with the schedule they have left. And he said it on our game day show. He said, look at the rest of the schedule. I mean, we got a big one here, but look at the rest of the schedule. There's no rocking chair games in that league. So you got to look at it. You got to, look, people are going to look at that Auburn game and say, can we do the same thing defensively that they did? Now, not everyone has the personnel, that Auburn has. But I mean, that's a little bit of a game plan for how you'd like to play against them. Look, I think Alabama's a Final Four team. Now you got to get the right draw, but Nate will take that and learn from it. The team will learn from it. I thought that early on they took some bad contested threes. They weren't as tough as they needed to be defensively. They just weren't as tough as they needed to be defensively. And Amori, he can give rim protection, but they couldn't guard Broome on the block one-on-one. Diabate tried to use his quickness against them. Worked a little bit. To me, it's what's our rotation going to be and how are we going to play? Youngblood's big enough, physical enough to guard. To play the two little guards together in a game like that probably was really, really hard. So, I mean, you're going to look at it. Look, Nate's a really smart guy. He's going to look at the numbers, but he's also going to look at the flow of the game. And what did they try to give and what did they try to take away versus what Auburn tried to give and take away? Because that's what a chess match is in coaching. You got to decide what you're going to give and what you're going to take away. All right. Bruce said, we're going to get contested twos. We're going to take away the three. All right. At first they were going to guard Broome one-on-one and they want to scrape down. They want to just help down a little bit. So look, you play in a good league, you're going to lose games. I mean, Connecticut lost to Seton Hall the other day. Kansas lost at Utah. Obviously, it's not 1 versus 2, but, good teams are going to lose games. And you just got to get to the next play, man, because in that league, if you have a hangover, it's going to kick your ass.
Yes. ESPN Seth Greenberg with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Is there a team you've seen, and I'm not saying they can beat Auburn in a tournament, but did you see them and you're like, that's the makeup of a team that could beat Auburn? Is there a quality team you've seen that's got that makeup?
I mean, Duke could beat Auburn. Florida could beat Auburn. I mean, there are teams on a given night. First thing you got to do is you got to match their edge. I mean, it sounds silly. I call Auburn functionally dysfunctional. I mean, they could have a blow up on their bench, guys screaming at each other, Bruce going after a guy. They come back and they just play. Yeah, they took a plane. They had to turn around, come back, get back on the plane, and they just play.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of Bruce. Bruce's ability to manage his team and keep them in the moment and deal with some of the distractions is what his magic is all about. But, yeah, I mean, look, is Auburn beatable? Yeah, they're beatable. But you better be really good because they can beat in transition. They can beat in a half court. They can beat in the paint. They can beat you shoot the threes. They can beat you with a defensive game plan. They've got a lot of different ways to beat you. And that's what makes it really hard, man. I mean, like, all right, what are we going to give? What are we going to take away? Well, we're going to take away the paint. All right, we're going to take away the paint. And then, you know what? Then they're going to knock down some threes. And then they have that, I call them, they have a Geraldo Chapman coming off the bench and Tahad Pettiford. All of a sudden, he comes in, broken play, and he goes boop, 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 pulls up, step back, bam, knocks down a three. I mean, so they have depth, they've got versatility, and they got to change the speed pitch. And that's Pettiford. So, I mean, you're going to have to play really well to beat them. And I do think that and I joke about functionally dysfunctional. I'm not saying it in a negative way. I actually think that helps them. That gives them that little bit of an edge that, like, they're edgy, but they back it up because of how they play. So it's kind of a good mix.
So coming into that game, Alabama was 333rd in turnover margin. We talked about it on the show. It's just part of their DNA. I didn't think that they could get that out of their system. They only turned it over 7 times. Yep. But again, they got pretty much dominated wire to wire. And we talked about this before you came on, Coach. Is it maybe Alabama was running their offense a little bit too differently? They were maybe overthinking the turnovers?
No, and weren't as aggressive as they normally would be. Yeah. I mean, look, turnovers are an issue. Nate mentioned it on our game day show, watching practice the day before. I mean, he must have mentioned it 8,000 times. Like, turnovers for touchdowns, you got to take away. That's just decisions. Like, when you make a play, it's advantage, disadvantage, and then you got to read it. The foolish, unforced turnovers get your ass beat. They get your ass beat. Trying to make plays that aren't there, as long as it's to make a play for someone else, that's a good thing. If it's to make a play for yourself, so you're driving into a crowd and you're keeping your dribble alive and you're kicking it off your leg or whatever, that's another thing. So, look, big picture, you got to take care of the ball because turnover is going to get you beat in the NCAA tournament
Well,
because you got to set your defense.
You saw Johni looked like he re-aggravated that ankle again. In this situation, with it appears Auburn has according to the committee, a gap from number 1 overall seed to the second number 1 seed. Do you ever consider resting Johni Broome in any of these games here? How would you approach that?
I'd sit and talk to the medical staff and let them make the decision. That's a medical staff decision. That's not a Bruce Pearl decision. It's a Johni and the medical staff. I mean, depending on how it is. I mean, like that game they played against Tennessee at Auburn. Now we're watching him warm up, and we're going, there is no way this dude is playing.
Right.
He's limping around his leg. There's no way this dude is playing. And then, like, he plays, and not only does he play, kind of limping around on one leg, the dude is playing good. It's like he made winning plays and blocking shots and scoring. I mean, like, so you got to leave that up. You're like, again, my experiences, that medical staff and Johni. Now, if you just think, you know what, we can deal with this. It's a home game or it's a road game or whatever, because they won the games without him.
Yep.
I mean, that's the amazing thing. Like, the two teams to me that have really impressed me this year, Florida, winning without Condon and winning without Elijah Martin. That's hard to do. Auburn, winning without Johni Broome and having different guys step up, that's hard to do. That shows the depth of your team. But that decision is, I think it's out of Bruce's hands. And Bruce would, like, the way he is, it's all right. So these are the guys we have to play. We want Johni ready for the end of the season. So I don't know how bad he tweaked it. I've been called a lot of things. Doctor is not one of them.
Hey, I had the pleasure to sit and watch your 2-hour game day show from Tuscaloosa. The staff is amazing, all the people behind the scenes and everything. Which is either more frustrating or more impressive to you, watching Jay Will in front of those students get out there and drain those half-court shots, or watch Reese Davis without a teleprompter lead into a package like the Aiden Holloway story? I'm an old local TV guy. I was looking for the freaking teleprompter, and I was like, what a freaking monster he is to hit that lay-in like that. Which one impresses you the most?
Jay Will, he would say he was 2-time player of the year. So, I mean, that's just what he does. Reese Davis is a freak. I mean, you understand it. I mean, like he's got these little note cards, and he's got like little bull points on them, and he does a 2-hour show. He does the open. Now he writes out his open, but he never looks at it when he does it. Like, he's a freak. I mean, like, his ability to navigate the football college game day show with all the moving pieces that has is unbelievable. He makes, it's like a really good player makes the hard things look easy. Like, Reese Davis makes this shit look easy. Yeah. That's just the way it is. I mean, he does. He's brilliant. Jay Will's that one that, like, I think he's done 3 times in a row. But as soon as that thing the two-hander, I don't get, by the way, but as soon as it left his hand, I turned to someone I said, that's it. Yeah. And then what the crazy thing is, people don't even react. If you think the crowd was bad at Alabama when he made it, he knocked one in at Iowa State. All right. And there was no reaction. Like, the dude just made a half-court shot. People would be running around doing airplanes. And he just made a half-court shot. And says, okay. I do. But Reese's stuff is sick. Yeah. It really, I'll tell you, and when he does the open, and he didn't do it in Alabama, but sometimes he'll get all wind up and he'll get out of his chair, and it'll kind of wrap it to me. I mean, that's like the highlight of the show for me. I mean, our show's interesting because we all look through the game through a different prism. Jay Will as a player, Andre obviously as someone that's covered the sport and a player, but in a different game. It's a totally different game. And then, like, Billis, he states his opinion like it's a fact, which is really annoying. And then me, I just go back to 33 years of coaching, and it pisses them off because, like, they'll say, well, only coaches understand that. Quite honestly, yes, some of this stuff only coaches do understand. Yeah. Which is the way it is. When you lived it for that long, it was like, when I got the funniest thing was when I got Jay Will up talking about guarding your yard and ball screen, and Billis was the screener. because you got to understand, Billis was a 1,000-point scorer at Duke, but his job was basically to screen for Allery and Johnny Dawkins. So basically, we put Billis in his best role. He would not agree with that, but we put him in his best role.
Just like Kate did back in the day. Yeah.
Exactly.
Coach Seth Greenberg at Seth on Hoops is where you follow him on social media. You see him on ESPN throughout the season. Thank you very much for the time, Coach. Very kind of you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it for having me.
All right, take care. That is Seth Greenberg with us, fresh off his visit to Tuscaloosa for game day. He was on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.